15 minutes later.
Okay, wait lang. It's time to clean up na.
No, ayoko pa. Ayoko pa. Gusto ko pa maglaro.
Hindi pwede. Ligpit na tayo.
Ayoko.
Diba favorite mo to? Oh.
Ayoko niyan.
Ay.
Gusto ko pa maglaro.
Sophie, isa. Kailangan natin magligpit, okay?
Okay.
Minutes later.
Tiffany, it's time to clean up na. Oh, ito na yung...
Bakit po?
Napakagulo na. Kailangan natin mag-ayos.
Bakit po?
Sige na. Magligpit na tayo, okay? So, ito.
Okay.
Oops. Dahil dyan, meron kang reward. Ito, favorite mo to.
Wow, thank you po.
Minutes later.
Kitty, we have to clean up na, ha?
Ayoko pa po. Gusto ko pa pang maglaro.
Sige na, magligpit na tayo.
Isa pa, please. Mamaya na lang po.
Diba favorite mo to? Ito na lang.
Ano
Oh,
yan?
here.
Wow, candy.
Oh, help me na.
Sige po.
Children with developmental delays are more likely to experience behavioral and psychiatric problems than children without developmental delays. Reports suggested that children with developmental delays as much as 7 times more likely to be diagnosed with a psychiatric condition than children without developmental delays. Bronfenbrenner ecological system theory, the primary focus of the present study centered around the microsystem, specifically the interactions and relationships between caregivers and their children. The results of this study affirm the hypothesis that caregivers' use of inappropriate commands or lack of follow-through and their number of commands significantly accounted for non-compliance in children. It is observed child non-compliance was most strongly associated with the number of commands delivered by caregivers. It is understandable that as the number of commands delivered by caregivers increases, the level of non-compliance increases as well. It is possible that there is temporal influence with caregivers' behavior within the observation, most strongly predicting child problem behavior within the observation. The rationale for reducing the number of commands is that there should be one correspondence with a command and a consequence by a caregiver, allowing a sufficient time for a child to comply with a request by a caregiver can increase rates of compliance. Several longitudinal studies have examined progressive of children's externalizing and antisocial behavior that begin with toddlers and instances of disobedience and continue into preschool years with instances of temper tantrums and more severely, physical attacks or aggression due to the coercive cycle between children and caregivers. My fieldwork placement was in a 4th grade inclusion classroom. There are 2 students that are diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactive disorder, ADHD, 1 student with a speech impediment, and 1 student with Down syndrome. I focused my observation on the student with Down syndrome, who I will call Sarah. The teacher, who I will call Ms. M, did not teach a specific lesson on this day. Instead, she had the students do different introductions. It is still the first week of school, so Ms. M wants to make certain that she gets to know all of the students and they get to know each other. Although Sarah does have a learning disability, Ms. M does everything she can to include Sarah in the classroom activities without treating her like she is less capable than any other student. She checks in on Sarah to make certain she is performing all of the morning activities to the best of her ability. Before the students walk into the classroom, Ms. M has one student at the door that greets each one with a handshake. This student looks every student in the eye and says, "Good morning," while shaking his or her hand. This first activity is a strategy that Ms. M uses to have the students work on their people skills. Sarah does this task with ease. She has a huge smile on her face because the student at the front door also gives her a hug. After shaking her hand, one thing I noticed was that Sarah was at the end of the line. After all the students are in the classroom, Ms. M asks students to take out their homework folders. While all the other students take out their folders, Sarah raises her hand. Ms. M walks over to Sarah and kneels beside her desk. Sarah explains to Ms. M that her homework folder is still in her backpack, which is located outside the classroom. Ms. M reminds Sarah that she always needs to grab her folder before walking into the classroom. She tells Sarah that she can go get it this time, since it is still the first week of school, but next time she needs to remember it. I thought this was especially helpful. Ms. M got down on her knees to Sarah's level and talked to her like she was capable of following this direction. I am confident Ms. M would allow another student to get their homework folder if they needed to as well. She is not giving Sarah special treatment just because she has a disability. She holds high expectations for Sarah, which are imperative for her to be the most successful. Ms. M was able to help a student with severe attention deficit hyperactive disorder, ADHD, be successful. I will call the student with ADHD, Michelle. Once the students walked into the classroom, I noticed Michelle walked straight to her desk. Her desk was placed in the very front of the classroom. I am sure Ms. M did this on purpose. It is a way that she can easily help Michelle stay on task. Once the students were sitting at their desks, Ms. M asked them to open their homework so the homework checker could quickly sign it off. Michelle and one other student were the homework checkers for the week. Michelle placed her homework on his desk and then proceeded to walk around the classroom to check everyone else's homework. She was somewhat slower than the other homework checker, but she was able to still complete the task as quickly as Ms. M expected. Ms. M makes sure to include Michelle in all the classroom activities. She sometimes has to give her guidance and support. Today, in my 4th grade fieldwork placement, I focused my observation on how the teacher was able to help multiple students with learning disabilities be the most successful. This was a short lesson, but Ms. M clearly was able to implement many strategies that helped these students be successful. This was a short lesson, but Ms. M clearly was able to implement many strategies that helped these students be successful. She used a microphone to make herself louder. She repeated herself multiple times, and she made sure to use visuals throughout her lesson. Ms. M has a speaker system throughout her classroom. Whenever she is teaching a lesson in front of the whole class, she attaches a microphone to her shirt. This is a way that Ms. M can easily be heard throughout the classroom. I noticed this was especially helpful for the students that have a hearing disability. These students sat close to the speaker. Ms. M likes to change her voice whenever she is teaching a lesson. She goes from talking loudly to whispering. This makes the lesson more engaging for the students, but the whispering would be hard to hear if there was not a microphone. The microphone helps the teacher be heard clearly by all students throughout the classroom.
The student that I observed today was the student missing half an arm. This student I will call Molly. She is a student that is much smaller than the rest of her classmates. She does not wear a prosthetic arm. She simply uses her right arm for all of her daily activities. The teacher, whom I will call Miss G, does her best to modify the different physical education activities to set Molly up to be successful. The lesson I observed was a physical education lesson. Miss G had an obstacle course set up for the students to attempt to master. The course consisted of different activities. It started with a jump rope. Miss G told the students to jump rope. She said, "If you're unable to jump rope, do 10 jumping jacks." Miss G asked for a student to demonstrate what a jumping jack looks like. Molly was the student who was volunteered. Miss G made sure to do the jumping jacks along with her so the other students can see both arms going up and down. But she did it in a way that did some controlling. She made this modification for all students. So Miss G wants to make sure she can still do the activity. I focused my observation on how Miss G was able to help a student who has attention hyperactive disorder or ADHD be successful. I will call this student Wilma. The time period that I was observing was the class's afternoon clock making lesson. Miss G showed great confidence when it came to making sure Will was able to stay on stop. Although he got off task multiple times, she did everything in her power to set him up for success. Miss G talked with Wilma many times throughout the lesson. The lesson started with Miss G showing the students how to read the clock. She showed them a digital clock and an analog clock. Miss G asked the students whether or not they knew how to read an analog clock. Will was one of the few students who knew how to read an analog clock. Miss G, knowing that Wilma needs to get up and move around, asked Will if he would read the analog clock to the class. He stood up. He raised her hand in front of the classroom. Miss G asked Wilma. Wilma seemed to not want to turn back, but he did. Then, she successfully read the analog clock with confidence. Today, Miss G had the students work on creating Valentine hearts for their different classmates. Instead of passing out Valentines on Valentine's Day, Miss G has each student decorate a heart for every classmate and write one good quality about that person. Then on Valentine's Day, the students place the heart on a card. Each student ends up filled with different positive qualities about themselves. Miss G believes this prevents anyone from feeling left out, and each student will go home feeling loved by all. For today's activity, the students were finishing up their hearts. They were supposed to have already worked on them at home, and they were to have at most 5 to finish at school. One student, whom I will call Haley, has ADHD, and she had not even finished 4 hearts. Instead of Miss G getting upset with her, she asked Haley to come work with me in the back of the classroom. Miss G understood that Haley might have been having trouble focusing today around other students as well as the home. Haley has a difficult home life, so Miss G understands that she might need some extra support at school. I feel like Miss G dealt with the situation very professionally, and Haley did not feel attacked or misunderstood. Miss G spoke with me separately and explained how Haley sometimes feels constantly pushed and yelled at when she does not finish her assignments. So Miss G asked me to offer her different incentives to help her feel motivated. The major theme that was found through classroom observations was the variety of strategies that the teachers used to ensure student success. Miss M and Miss G, the 2 teachers I observed, used the following strategies. Work one-on-one with students, create specific plans for students, promote active participation and collaboration among all students. Working one-on-one with the students allowed both teachers to create specific plans with their students to help them to be successful. Miss M specifically went out of her way to arrange the students' desk into small groups that promoted collaborative conversation. This is necessary so the students with special needs can collaborate and work with their other classmates. Both teachers promoted active participation from all students. These two teachers expected all of their students to participate in all classroom activities and discussion. Expected students with special needs to participate in important is so important so that they feel included in the classroom. Lastly, Miss M and Miss G implemented inclusion in the classroom through small group discussion. This allowed all students, including those with special needs, to fully participate without feeling judged by the rest of the class.